You're listening to The Power Project. I'm your host, Brandy Voth, and it's my goal each week to inspire and empower you with stories of women that are leading purpose-filled lives and owning their God-given power. My guest today, Donna Durham, is a therapist out of Nashville, Tennessee. She's a mom, she's a wife, she has her undergrad in home economics education and her master's in marriage and family. She started out quite unexpectedly with a sewing project at her kitchen table that has now evolved into a full-time business and a social enterprise. I know that you are going to be just as inspired with her story as I was. So let's just jump right in, shall we? Hey guys, welcome back to The Power Project. I have a special guest on today that I am so excited for you guys to meet. I'm excited because it's a subject that I want to hear more about. And I was scrolling through Instagram and found a profile that I thought was really intriguing, really interesting. You guys know that I'm always looking for the women that are going out and pursuing their dreams and following God's call and just doing it. And so I reached out, and now, thanks to a little DM and the glory of social media, we have Miss Donna Durham on the show today. Hey, Donna, how are you?
I am well. Thank you so much, Brandy. Thanks for having me on your show. I love it.
Absolutely. And you're awesome, man. You were like, hey, when are you ready? Let's do it. Let's do it today.
Thank you. Thank you.
I love that. So, Donna, you're in Nashville. Is that correct?
I am in Nashville, Tennessee. I grew up here, and I love Nashville. I've lived other places that I've loved too, but I am proud to be a Nashvilleian.
Well, I just got back from a 24-hour whirlwind trip to Nashville Friday and Saturday.
What were you here for?
I have a team in Nashville with my business that makes me money. Okay. Uh-huh. And so we were there doing some celebration dinner and some brunch meetings. And I am obsessed with Nashville. Like, I love it. Yeah, I told my husband, I was like, I haven't been to Nashville since I was probably a teenager. And I really didn't get to see much of it, while we were there because it was a quick trip. But oh my gosh, what a great city.
It is. It's really grown up. Like I said, I grew up here. My dad worked downtown every day, and just wow, has it changed? Just the whole landscape of Nashville has changed so much. And it's really fun to have so much entertainment and just fun things to do. And I think it's beautiful. And we have so much diversity here. It's a really cool place to live.
And what I'm finding is that you guys have a lot of people in Nashville that are really doing big things attached to purpose. I've found so many nonprofit organizations and social enterprises and outreaches that are based in Nashville.
That's exactly right. It is one of the most entrepreneurial cities in the nation, but also, yes, for compassion, nonprofit work, it also is a great place. There's a lot of creativity in Nashville, and because it's pretty rare to find people who actually grew up here, and I think that's one of the things that makes it a unique place is that you have all just people coming from all different places, and they are contributing, and they're growing, and they have ideas. And Nashville and Franklin, I actually live in Franklin, but it's a safe place to dream. It's a safe place to dream. And I love that.
I love that. And I love that you just gave it that title. Like, I will always think of Nashville now as a safe place to dream. Yeah. I think it's a pretty accurate depiction. Cool. So tell me about Donna Durham, other than just growing up in Nashville. Give me some of your story.
Sure. Well, probably the thing that people are knowing me for these days is I'm the founder and president of Weighting Comforts, and we are a social enterprise that makes and sells weighted blankets. I was in my last semester of my getting my master's in marriage and family therapy, when my supervisor asked me to make a weighted blanket for each of the offices where I was doing my internship. My undergrad is home economics education. And so Sarah knew that I knew how to sew. So I made these blankets and I started using them on my most anxious clients and could see them go from really agitated, like really having a hard time even sitting still. And then I would offer them this blanket and they could really calm down and then just go, could I have a few minutes by myself? So it was amazing. I didn't have a lot of experience with weighted blankets before, but I ended up just putting, I took a picture of one of the blankets, put it on the back of my couch, and in 1 minute I had 2 orders. And I was like, wow, this is something. And my husband had been laid off for the second time in 4 years. This was back in November of 2014. And so this was kind of a way to make some Christmas money. And I just kept posting and kept getting orders. And I got probably 15 orders between November and Christmas. And my son, Josh, who was home from college over Christmas break, was, of course, seeing me make these blankets and sell these blankets. And he was really intrigued. He was a business major, sophomore in college. And he was like, I think this really is something. So he had been studying digital marketing and social media marketing. And so he built our first Facebook page and our first website. And we just have been growing ever since. And then one of the ways that God really changed my life in this whole thing was I eventually had a hard time keeping up with the orders as I graduated and then was growing my own therapy practice. So I reached out to a neighbor who had mentioned to me about a year prior that a lady in her church had been teaching refugees how to sew. And I really love that whole social enterprise idea of like, just how can I help? So I reached out to Cammie and she got me in touch with Rita from Sew for Hope. And Rita introduced me to Anwar Al-Sad. And I taught Anwar how to make a weighted blanket. And that just put me on this journey that was completely unexpected in my life. Anwar's from Iraq and she's Muslim. And I sort of had some fear around working with Muslim person. That's just how that, I'm not proud of that, but that's how I was. But God really used her to, one, confirm things that I felt like he was speaking to me in this journey of building waiting comforts. And she opened my eyes to what it's like for someone to move here and to not have the language skills to find work. She actually has a master's degree in physics and mathematics. She was a school teacher, school principal in Iraq. She's amazing, but could not find work that paid really well because of her language skills. So, I started bringing the raw materials to her, the blankets and the beads and everything in the parking lot of Thrift Smart. And in exchanging, she would, take the blankets home and make the blankets, bring those back, and I'd pay her. And then we just kept, growing and growing. And eventually we had 6 ladies that we were contracting with. And then finally, about 2 years ago, we were able to move into an amazing sewing space that the Lord provided for us. And now we have over 12 women who work with us. We actually had more, but we did do a layoff after Christmas because our sales, kind of went down after Christmas.
Right. I love that. How cool. So tell me about Anwar and the founder of Sew for Hope.
Rita Atkins is the founder of Sew for Hope, and Anwar is one of her students.
Okay.
So even though Anwar knew how to sew, she's been making her own clothes since she was 12. But she went through this program because she knew it would connect her with clients, people she could sew for. But she also was teaching for Sew for Hope by the time I was introduced to her.
How cool is that? Like I love that you did go ahead and speak to your hesitation of being a Christian and working with a Muslim, and what does that look like? Because I think that I know that I personally have experienced so oftentimes in life that that whole love thy neighbor,
Yeah.
Like God actually meant that, like all the neighbors, right?
Right. Yes, exactly. This whole experience, it has just completely changed my life. And I'm so grateful for that.
I love that. I love when he brings together a story like this to where that you can see the good being done, to bring glory to him. And it would have never happened had you let your fear convince you to say no to that opportunity, right?
That's right. That's right. And let me tell you, like, one day I was sitting at a Starbucks and I was thinking about this space that I wanted to rent. And I just thought to myself, nobody's going to know that unless I say it out loud, unless I start pursuing that. And I reached out and made a phone call about this space that I thought we would want to move into. And then the next time I saw her, she just said, you could rent a place and we could also there. And it was astounding to me that God would use her to just confirm what I was already thinking. And then another time I had taken a blanket to a manufacturing space. Ironically, it's the actual space that we're in now. But I had taken a blanket to a manufacturing space to see if they could make the blankets for us. And she had heard about that. And she said, I heard that you're, going this other direction. And I said, yes, but I'm still going to hire you because we'll do, custom work or whatever. And she said, Miss Donna, I know 10 women who need work right now. I have a woman from Syria who calls me every day. She's a widow. She has 4 children. She doesn't want to be on food stamps and she needs work. And it just stopped me in my tracks that she is just advocating for people that she knows and knowing, just kind of taking a risk that there's something that I could possibly do about that. And so I looked at her and I said, well, Anwar, I said, pray. And she said, I pray, Miss Donna. And it was just amazing because I also want to tell you, so we moved into this space in April of 2017. It was April 2nd. It was 2 years to the day that I had taught Anwar to make the first blanket. And when we moved into the space, we were just chatting and talking because we rarely had time to really talk and chat before because we were always just running from one thing to the next. And she said to me, I'd tell my husband I had a dream and I told Miss Donna and it came true. And she said, her husband said, yes, sometimes if we say our dreams out loud, God makes them come true. And it was just really, we were just both like crying, it's like God just really brought our lives together. She would tell you she really didn't like her life here. She felt lonely and disconnected. And working with me, and not to brag, but working with me has really, we just have a great thing going. And she's a dear friend of mine now. We, she's been to our house for Thanksgiving the past couple years, and we've been to her house. She bought a house this year. She bought a house this year, all in her name. And that is so meaningful to me that because of her work here and because of having steady income, she was able to buy her own home. And so my husband and I were able to go there, and celebrate with her. And so that's a little bit about Waiting Comforts. Another part of our work is that we provide English classes because Anwar told me, when you move here, everybody needs the language. So because the language is going to help them find work. So during the day, our employees twice a week will leave their sewing machines and go to their English class, and they'll be in there for 45 minutes. We have 2 amazing women that I've known for over 20 years that come in and teach twice a week. And that has been so meaningful too. Our space, Waiting Comforts, is actually in a co-working space. Suzanne Severe of Severe Skirts is also here. And Suzanne had hired, she had actually employed Margareta, one of the ladies who works for us now. And Margareta is Latino. She speaks Spanish. And Suzanne had never really had much of a conversation with her because her English wasn't very good and Suzanne's Spanish wasn't very good. Mm-hmm. So, but one day Margareta was walking through Suzanne's space and walked up to Suzanne and spoke to her, and they had a conversation. And so Suzanne told me later that she said, Donna, like, she has so much confidence, like you're changing their lives. And that is amazing to me too, that I get to be part of that journey.
Fun.
Yeah, it's been amazing.
So she learned English by your English tutor that was coming to teach the other lady.
That's right. Yes.
How neat is that? Like I love everything about this. I do
too. I get to be a part of it.
I love it. But I tell everyone I talk to so many women on a regular basis that say, I have this idea, or I can do this, or I can do that. And they always want to know, like, how can I make an impact? How can I do this grandiose thing? And I'm like, first off, evaluate, what are your strengths? What do you have that you can offer the world? What can you do? Like yours was sewing, and it turned into this where you're employing, refugees, and you're teaching immigrants how to speak English, and you're attaching people to purpose and helping them earn financial freedom. Like, how beautiful is that?
Yes. And I would say, because people have said, well, how do you think that happened? And I think it happened because I said, okay. Like I do, there's so many parts of my life that I do feel like God prepared for these moments. I mean, I lived in Orange City, Iowa for 10 years, which is like so, homogenous. I mean, it's just so Caucasian, right. Although it has a growing Latino community there. But actually it was there that I learned about my own white privilege. That's where my eyes were really open to, what it's like to be different than a white person here in the U.S. And so then when we moved back to Nashville in 2011, and this was my opportunity, I was so grateful for feeling prepared, feeling like, okay, this is what it's like. And I can, maybe I'm only going to, contract with Anwar to make 2 blankets, but it actually has ended up being thousands and thousands. And we're actually our sewing room manager now. And she does all of our training. She helps me with product development. I mean, just all kinds of things. And so, yeah, it's been amazing. I also have to just completely brag on my son. He was actually named in, last year in 2018 as a Forbes 30 under 30 for our work as in the social enterprise world. And he has worked so hard to just learn all of this about social media marketing and digital marketing. And he's been an amazing part of this as well.
And I love that he's the 30 under 30 and it's for a social enterprise. I'm super passionate. I personally work closely with the fight against human trafficking.
Oh, you do? Awesome.
Yeah. And you didn't even know that before we hopped on here. But so I'm always looking for, social enterprise basically, because when someone, comes out of the life of sex trafficking, one of the biggest challenges is at finding them work where they're attached to purpose and something that gives back, and a place for them to be mentored and also gain skills. And so, I love that you're doing this with the refugees and the immigrants, and that you're teaching them to sew. I love everything about it.
Thank you.
This episode is brought to you by Brandy Voth Beauty. Have you tried the #1 skincare brand in all of North America? Well, if not, today is your day. Head over to the-powerproject.com, click on Powerful Beauty, and take a 30-second skincare consultation to see what products are recommended for your skin concerns. Email yourself those results, and then I will personally mail you a thank you gift for your time. That's thepowerproject.com, powerful beauty. So, but tell me about, because I think there are probably people listening, because we just jumped straight into the heart and the purpose of it all. Mm-hmm. I think that there's probably people listening right now that are wanting to know what the heck a weighted blanket is.
Yes.
So can you shine some light on that for us, especially from like the therapist standpoint?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for even bringing us back around to that, because sometimes I forget. Not everybody knows. So a weighted blanket is a blanket that is sewn into a grid, and it has beads in pockets. So our beads, we have 5-inch pocket squares, and we sell blankets in 10, 15, 20, 25 pound weights. And so they really help. They just put pressure on people's body. It works sort of like deep pressure massage, and it helps calm people. I liken it a lot of times to swaddling a baby or to feeling hugged. We sell to a number of different populations, mostly women, but some of our customers are like newly divorced or newly singled, and they feel like it's almost like they're not sleeping alone. They feel, and there's just a secure sense that comes with being covered with a weighted blanket.
That makes sense. And I had found, I stumbled upon an article about a weighted blanket a while back, and my mom has recently been diagnosed with a REM sleep disorder.
Really?
that was like, it was presenting and manifesting as anxiety and short-term memory loss.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so she had told me, not knowing anything about this or a weighted blanket, she had said, I find that if I put a really heavy quilt folded up on my feet while I sleep, that I sleep so much better and I don't toss and turn. And I'm like, Mom, you got to get a weighted blanket.
Yes, that's right. Yes, that's right. Actually, that's how my husband sleeps. He's the only one in the family that doesn't sleep with a weighted blanket over him. He sleeps with a blanket folded on his feet. That's so funny. So
that is, yeah.
Yes, but it is a really comforting feeling for a lot of people. Weighted blankets, they just add a lot of calm and comfort, and it's pretty cool. We get testimonials from people that are haven't slept in 30 years, and they're and they're like, I am finally sleeping through the night, and it's a game changer. It's like you're saying, your mom short-term memory loss, like that's huge, or just not feeling yourself, or you're grumpy. It affects your relationships. It affects your work. It affects your self-esteem. If you don't sleep well, it affects your whole world, really.
Yeah. And so for the person at home that says, I get really hot when I sleep, are there options? What are the choices with these?
Yes. So we have the Cool Max. We have the Cool Max weighted blanket, and we knew we needed to offer that. Actually, my friend Christy was like, you have to find a blanket that keeps women from sweating at night. Yes. And so we found some fabric called Cool Max, and we offered it on the website, and we thought maybe it'll be like 10% of our sales. Well, it immediately was 30%, and now it's like 65% of our sales, because it wicks away sweat. And so people are able to sleep under a blanket, have that heavy feeling, but if they do sweat at night, the fabric itself wicks it away, so people don't wake up in a pool of sweat. And that's a game changer, because people who wake up sweating will often get up and they'll change clothes, and they have a hard time getting back to sleep. And so by, using a tool like this that keeps them from sweating, they can sleep through the night.
Oh, that's a huge game changer. I know, I personally, since I had my youngest 10 years ago, I get so hot at night. My husband will roll over and be like, why do you feel like a heater? I'm like, I don't even know.
Exactly. Totally. I totally
and,
get that.
And so we've got different options on the material and whether it's the cottons or the Cool Max. What about the difference in weights? Like what have you found the different weights to treat different types of issues, or is it just a personal preference?
It's really about personal preference. We suggest that people start with like 10% of their body weight. That's just a good place to start. And so, but some people like heavier and some people like lighter. Like my daughter, one of the first blankets I made was for her. And it was amazing because she made sense to me after I started making these blankets. She's 22 now, but when she was little, she would sleep with 7 blankets on her all the time. And so I made her a 7-pound weighted blanket at the beginning, but that was not heavy enough for her. And so I had made a 25-pound one for my husband, and that's the one she took over.
How funny.
It is. So some people like, and one way that I think you can gauge it is, do you prefer light touch or do you prefer deep touch? Like, if I was going to give my husband like a back rub, he would like my fingers just to touch his back kind of lightly. Whereas if he's going to give me a back rub, I'm like, take your elbow and dig it into my muscles as deep as you can. And so it's just the difference between what do you prefer? Do you want just a little bit of weight or like really strong hugs or really deep touch? Is that something that feels good to you?
I love that. I think that's a fantastic way to describe it. I do want to ask, before we get off of here about, so you did a really great job with, or at least it sounds this way. Of course, nothing's ever as easy in the process as what it sounds like telling the story, but
sure.
You did a great job of evolving and learning how to, you had the supply and you had the demand, you had to have the supply.
Yeah.
And so you outsourced it. You found a company, you found a nonprofit that could help you and kill 2 birds with 1 stone, where you provide them an opportunity, but you also help your growing demands. So I'm curious now, because you're kind of a big thing right now and seem to be gaining momentum pretty quickly. What is your greatest challenge or growing pain that you're facing right now in business?
That's such a great question. I would say inexperience is our greatest challenge. So my son was, in college. He's graduated from college now, and he works here full time. And I actually ended up closing my therapy practice so I could be here at Waiting Comforts full time. But we just had no real prior experience running a business. And so we have hired some consultants to come alongside of us to give us the guidance that we need, because there's just things we don't know. We don't even know that we don't know.
Right.
So the biggest part of this learning curve has been inexperience. And I trust, I actually was spending some time praying this weekend and asking the Lord, like, what do I believe? Like, that's not true. And I feel like he said, you believe that your weaknesses and your mistakes are greater than my power. And I was like, yes, I do. I have believed that, and just spent time just saying, I don't want to believe that anymore. And I confess that your power and your plans for Waiting Comforts are so much bigger than me, and I don't want to get in the way of them. And so I'm working really hard to not live in the shame of what I don't know, and trust the Lord that He is walking through all of this with us. So yeah, that's kind of where I am right now.
Well, I think you're doing a great job at it. And I think that, the true definition of success is literally just a willingness to fail, and to learn from those failures and evolve. They're not really actually failures. They're just a lesson and a stepping stone on the journey, right?
Yeah, right. I agree. Yeah, they are. It's also just really humbling. It's really humbling. So,
hey, listen, I say it because I have to tell myself the exact same thing. I completely understand. And I think that when you're a person that is an achiever and a person that is is pushing to do big things. It stings, but we just have to remind ourselves that it's all part of the journey.
Yes, it's true. It is. It's all part of the journey. And if we're going to have the really awesome moments, we also have to be okay with the really hard parts too. I'll add, my husband and I got to go to Israel this past summer, which was just amazing. But one of the things I noticed about our tour guide is when he talked about valleys, he talked about them as fertile land. He just always talked about how things grow there. And it was a real lesson to me of like, yeah, we talk about mountaintop experiences as being great, but we also can experience really significant growth in those kind of places that we think are valleys, those places that we think are really hard, but we have a lot of growth right there.
That's very beautiful. What month last summer?
We were at the very end of July and we came back at the beginning of August. And it was just, I just can't believe we got to do it. But we were with some friends that have run a camp for kids, just connecting kids. This is amazing. Connecting teenagers from Israel, the U.S., and Canada. And they've been running this camp for 3 years in the U.S. And they said this year we're going to Israel. So we got to stay with some Jewish families that are Orthodox and experience Shabbat with them and got to see the places that Jesus walked. And it was a trip of a lifetime. It's awesome.
That is awesome. You're going to have to connect me with the friends that run the camp, and we need to have them on the show.
Yeah. I'll do that.
Awesome. So I think we're gonna wrap up, but I believe, let's see, how do people get their hands on a Waiting Comfort blanket?
So go to www.waitingcomforts.com and you'll see our website there. There's a video of me on our homepage. And then we have a special right now that is $50 off one cotton blanket, or $120 off of 2 cotton blankets. And you use code SPRING50 for $50 off, or SPRING120 for $120 off. So those are about the size of a twin bed is kind of how to think about that, because they're personal use blankets. A lot of times people are looking for twin king queen sizes, and we typically sell them just for the body, not for the bed, if that makes sense.
Totally makes sense, because you're going to have 2 different types of sleepers in a bed. So that makes sense. And thanks so much for the coupon. I love when we can get things discounted.
Yeah. Yes, you're welcome. Thank you so much.
I love to buy things discounted, and I love to buy things that give back, so we can kill 2 birds with 1 stone there again. And
awesome.
Give me your social media tags where people can find you or Waiting Comforts on social media.
Yeah. Okay. So on Instagram, I'm at Donna Minter Durham. So my maiden name is Minter, Minter, but Donna Minter Durham. And then we are also just at Waiting Comforts. And then, of course, waitingcomforts.com are kind of the ones. I'm not on Twitter, so I don't have a Twitter account. And then it's on Facebook. I'm also Donna Minter Durham on Facebook. So, yeah, I would love to hear from people. That would be fun.
Awesome, Donna. Well, thanks so much. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you today. Thanks for taking time out at the very last minute and hopping on with me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brandy. I'm really proud of what you're doing. And I wanted to be a part of this because I want to be a person of power too, and I think it's amazing what you're doing. So thanks for letting me be a part of it today.
You're sweet. Thanks. You're welcome. And have a great day, okay?
Thank you. See you later. Bye-bye.
So my favorite part of this podcast is the fact that I can see strangers on social media that are doing something that I'm really interested in and really intrigued with. And I can just reach out, send them a DM and say, hey, I love what you're doing and I would love to chat more with you about that. So that's exactly what happened with Donna and I am thrilled to have been able to have this interview with her. As always, if you like what you heard today, do us a favor, hop over to iTunes, write a review, rate us, Share us on all forms of social media so that we can bring more interesting guests to you. I can't wait to talk with you next week.